What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Got some breaking news, man. Michael Coppinger on his website is reporting Jermall Charlo's Houston own, H-Town's own, is set to defend his 160-pound WBC title against Sergiy Devrevyanchenko, who was last seen giving Triple G all he can handle in a highly controversial decision loss that took place in 2019. Now, Sergiy Devrevyanchenko also shared the ring with Daniel Jacobs, and that fight was a very, very close fight. I think Daniel Jacobs won that fight on a split decision. So Sergiy Devrevyanchenko, in my opinion, is going to be the toughest opponent of Jermall Charlo's career. At the very least, his toughest opponent since he turned to the middleweight division. That's going to be a good fight, man. Good fight, man. Jermall Charlo, when he fought Matt Korobov, he had problems in that fight. You know, Matt Korobov was a highly skilled amateur with the amateur pedigree, a southpaw fighter, and he gave Jermall Charlo's problems early on in that fight. Jermall Charlo, who is not given his just credit as a smart fighter, adjusted to the southpaw style of Matt Korobov and was able to slowly break him down and win a comfortable decision. Now, since then, he's fought a couple of lackluster opponents, guys that don't have a lot of name ID in the sport of boxing. Last seen defeating Dennis Hogan, a guy who I actually watched personally when he fought Jaime Munguia. They fought in the Toyota Center here in Houston. Had a huge Latino crowd down there, and I thought Dennis Hogan actually defeated Jaime Munguia, but he got the raw end of the stick in that fight and lost a controversial decision. He then fought Jermall Charlo in New York, and a lot of people thought he was going to give Jermall Charlo a lot of problems, the same problems that he gave Jaime Munguia. But Jermall Charlo, probably his best performance, probably in a couple of years, man. You know, he put on some good performance, but based on the opponent, their performance, probably his best performance, and considering the opposition he was in the ring with, it was a good performance by Jermall Charlo. He was able to stop Dennis Hogan in a vintage performance by Jermall Charlo, who's undefeated. Now, Sergiy Devrevyanchenko, if I'm not mistaken, is southpaw too. Maybe not southpaw, but he's a very tricky and a very awkward fighter, similar to Matt Korobov. Even though Matt Korobov came from a southpaw style, and I think that actually coming from that stance gave Jermall Charlo some problems early on. He took him a while to figure him out, and he was slowly able to do that. Now, Devrevyanchenko, I might be wrong on him being a southpaw. I got to look that up, but nevertheless, he's a very tricky opponent, and he's going to his style that gave Triple G problem, gave Daniel Jacobs problem, and he seems to be improved under the guidance of trainer Andre Rozier. So it should be a very, very exciting fight. Now, if I had to guess the location of this fight, I think this fight is going to take place in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. I read earlier today that they had 0 deaths from the coronavirus reported. So they're doing very well, as the governor, Mario Cuomo, has done a superb job of getting that coronavirus epidemic under control in his state. So I think that's where they're going to be looking to hold fights, up in New York and up in Connecticut. At Yukonsville, Connecticut, I think they got a casino up there, and I think they're going to stage some earlier fights on Showtime. Stephen Espinoza announced that last week. So I think that's mostly what Al Heyman and the PBC are going to be working with. They're going to be working exclusively on the East Coast, where they seem to have the epidemic under control. You know, it came out a report today that 47 of the 50 states are receiving spikes in coronavirus cases. There's only 3 states that haven't received spikes in coronavirus. And I know for a fact one of those states are New York. And I will assume that Connecticut, which is a neighboring state, is probably the other state that's not spiking. And the third state probably be another state over there, maybe Rhode Island, Delaware, or one of the other states over there. They've done a good job. A lot of those governors have got together and have formed basically a tag team situation as far as attacking the coronavirus. And they've done a very good job up there on the East Coast. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires. It's going to be a good fight, man. As the fight gets finalized, I'll break it down in detail. My preliminary thoughts on the fight is it's going to be a very tough fight for Jermall Charlo, man. This guy's very awkward, very tricky, but I just think his lack of his work rate kind of cost him at times. I thought in a Triple G fight, if he just been a little bit more active, I thought he could have probably got that decision, even though a lot of people thought he won the fight anyway. And I thought that hurt him in the Daniel Jacobs fight. He allowed Daniel Jacobs to take breaks, rest, pose, and fight at Daniel Jacobs' pace of the fight. And I think that cost Devrevyanchenko. I thought he should have jumped on Daniel Jacobs a little bit more and forced the fight a little bit more. Maybe he could have got the decision in that fight, as he ultimately succumbed to a split decision loss to Daniel Jacobs. I think if he can get a little bit more aggressive and under the tutelage of, again, trainer Andre Rozier, develop his power shots a little bit more and let his hands go a little bit more, I think this is going to be a good fight, man. Jermall Charlo is a beast, though. This guy is a killer in that ring, man. He's on attack mode. He's throwing bomb shots. And he's like his younger brother, Jermall, is similar, but he's a little bit more wild, his younger brother. I think Jermall is a little bit more technical as far as setting up his power shots, man, but this guy's a beast, man, and it's going to be a very interesting fight, man. Jermall Charlo has an underrated jab. I think his work rate and his aggressiveness is an activity I think will ultimately break down Sergiy Devrevyanchenko. And I think, I don't know if he stops Devrevyanchenko. It's just a preliminary thought. I'm going to break it down a little bit more in depth as we get closer to the fight, but I don't know if he stops Devrevyanchenko. I think he'll win a unanimous decision as he takes over the fight in the second half of that fight. But it should be very interesting, especially in the first half of that fight, as it's going to take Jermall Charlo, just like with the Matt Carball fight. It might take him a little while to figure out Sergiy Devrevyanchenko's awkward and tricky style. Let me know what you think about this fight, man. Coming up September, October, Jermall Charlo versus Sergiy Devrevyanchenko for Jermall Charlo's WBC middleweight championship belt. That's going down, and we got some good fights getting lined up as Al Heyman and the PBC are looking to stack their lineups and get things rolling as far as their organization is concerned, and get their fighters back in the ring and get boxing back as it's slowly but surely coming back to the sports world. We'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires. This is JBsports, the man, the myth, the legend. And subscribe to me and comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this fight. Peace out.